Remember that crazy indoor wave pool that produced nuggy little tubes back in the 90s? It was by far the best wave pool of its time. And with the quality of waves it created, it would have been just as relevant today. So what happened to it? In 1993, the Seagaya Ocean Dome opened in Miyazaki in Japan. The project was unlike anything the world had ever seen, and it featured a massive indoor pool with a proper surfable wave, an artificial beach, and all of this was contained within this humongous dome with a retractable roof, and it cost the equivalent of $1.8 billion. So it wasn't cheap. It was actually part of a wider resort with hotels and golf courses. The indoor water park was only one element to it. So the pool in the dome was 6 times larger than an Olympic swimming pool. And the retractable roof closed if it was raining and displayed an artificial blue sky. And it also contained artificial waterfalls, had this tropical jungle vibe, this volcano that erupted every 15 minutes with real smoke and fire. And the place produced proper, actual surfable waves. At the time, this was a phenomenal achievement because so far, wave pools had only managed to produce dribbly rubbish that nobody actually wanted to surf, and surfing in a wave pool before then was just a novelty factor. But Surf Dome was proper. It produced lefts, rights, you could get tubed, there were sections, and the place attracted professional surfers from all over the world. But it wasn't just a wave pool. In fact, it was only sometimes a wave pool. For the most part, it was a tourist attraction that promised safe, warm, indoor swimming water and an artificial beach. Initially, the park attracted millions of visitors from around Japan, just not necessarily surfers, but just tourists who were intrigued at this monumental indoor water park. And actual surf sessions only took place via specialized slots in the evening. But even then, it wasn't available to the public. It's not like the wave pools now where you can just book whatever session you want. During the day, it was just a massive swimming pool for tourists. It was only at night time that it became anything surfable. You either had to rent it out privately at massive expense, or be part of a corporate event, or, be taken there by a sponsor. That's the reason we've only ever really seen professional surfers surf it. So other than a handful of intrigued tourists, it was only really professional surfers that got a proper go at it. Interestingly, the dome hired surfers from overseas to put on surfing shows in the evening. And some of these shows were performed in fancy dress, where a surfer would get paid to put on this evening show to the hundreds of Japanese tourists in weird Japanese costumes. So there's not much footage of these sessions going down. I would have loved to have included that in the video, but just picture what that might have looked like and you could get a pretty good idea. It was an incredible feat of engineering on many fronts, with the retractable roof, the sheer scale and size of it, and the pool. Now, the pool is said to have been able to produce 200 different types of waves, and the way those waves were generated is pretty different to how a lot of the pools work today. Essentially, the dome used these massive vacuum pumps that sucked water upwards, and then once a computer kicked in, it triggered a release, and that release effect created the wave in the pool. The bathymetry of the pool also mimicked that of a pretty shallow reef break, where the waves created moved from deep water to shallow water pretty quickly, which made it the only pool of its time to actually throw over itself and create these nuggy little left and right pits. I'd be super interested to know if any of you guys watching went there during this time and got to surf it. If you've got any stories or if you'd like to share your experience, please comment down below. I'd be fascinated to hear what it was really like. So while it was cool from a surfing perspective, the business struggled massively. The bills racked up and visitor numbers dwindled compared to what was needed for it to be profitable. The dome began losing around $250 million a year, and in 2001, less than a decade after opening, it filed for bankruptcy. I mean, the project was outrageously ambitious, so it was kind of no wonder it went wrong. And the place was built around 300 meters away from the actual ocean. And the artificial beach next to the pool was actually made from crushed marble, not from sand down the road. It used 600 tons of this crushed marble, which all had to be imported from China. And the reason for that was so that tourists could get out of the water, step onto the sand and not have the sand stick to them, which actually sounds pretty cool, to be fair. But there was a much broader reason as to why this pool failed. During the 80s, Japan was the wealthiest nation in the world. It had become a manufacturing powerhouse, especially for high-tech consumer electronics and for making amazing, reliable cars. This led to banks aggressively handing out cheap loans, and people used this borrowed money to buy up property, purely to sell it for quick profit. This created an artificial bubble of imaginary wealth, and many companies used it to build these crazy sci-fi futuristic mega projects like indoor wave pools. But then the bubble popped, and in the early 90s, prices grew too high for anyone to afford. Everyone tried to sell their investments, property prices collapsed, and businesses were buried under massive debts they could never repay. This meant that through the early 2000s, Japan lay waste to dozens of these abandoned mega projects. Decades of economic stagnation followed, and Ocean Dome specifically plunged into $4 billion of debt. So at the time, the dome actually held the unwanted Guinness World Record for the most expensive bankruptcy in the world. It's since been broken many times over, but it's a crazy amount of money for a water park. After closing, an American company called Ripplewood bought the business and looked to revamp the failed project. And they pumped another $32 million into the thing, but it didn't work again. So while the dome did temporarily reopen, it struggled again, and in 2007, it closed its doors permanently. 10 years on, in 2017, the place was demolished, and this happened to make way for the Phoenix Sigaya Resort, which still stands today, but it's just a normal luxury resort without a massive surfing dome attached to it. I'm too young to remember when this wave pool opened, but my main memory of it comes from Kelly Slater's Pro Surfer, the PlayStation game. I remember it just being such a crazy concept that you could have waves in a swimming pool. That was just unheard of to me, and I remember always playing that location on the game. It'd be sick if someone revamped that game and made it with the consoles we have today. I'd definitely buy that. Imagine if someone could make a pool like this today where you're in a big dome. For example, in a cold country, you had really warm water and you could go and surf in boardies. How sick that would be. So yeah, super interesting story. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you've got any more info on this pool, you were there during the time, I'd love to hear from you. Also guys, if you haven't joined my email list already, please do so. You'll get 10% off consulting calls if you need help planning a surf trip. I'll also send you some helpful surf travel information from time to time. For now, it's goodbye from me, and I'll see you in the next episode.